But the blacksmith did more than just putting up a sign and sending out a flyer. He gave his building a good coat of paint and cleaned things up real nice-like. Now, when people see his shop, they feel like he is a responsible businessman and a good citizen. You can't buy that kind of goodwill. And that's worth thinking about for your church, too. Are the people in your neighborhood proud that your building is there? Is your building representative of your beliefs, or are people just a little ashamed? Why not take a tour of your church building and grounds? Oh, I know. You see them every week. But when you see something every week, well, sometimes you don't really see it. Are the weeds gradually taking over your yard? Is the paint peeling? Are cobwebs growing in the corners? Are there books and papers piled all over? Take a tour of your church and look at it as if you never saw it before. Now let's see. What all have we said? One, you have got to let people know that you exist. Two, you've got to let them know where you are, and that location needs to be easy to find and kept clean and in good repair. And now, what else? Yes. You've got to say something that will help people remember your church and differentiate you from all the other fish in the sea. What can you say about your church that is accurate and puts your best foot forward? What are your goals? What is your function in the community? Why should anyone want to join your church? Now that last one is important. And if you're not careful, you're almost certain to give a wrong answer.
The hardest part of creating awareness is to first establish what your specific goals are, and then to present them so that they sound positive and attractive to the public. By goals, we do not mean for you to say you're going to preach the gospel in all the world so the end can come. That is your overarching goal, all right, but it's much too general. Goals must be concrete. You must decide exactly what it is you are going to do and when you are going to do it. You must decide how much of it you are going to do and for whom. If your church wants to be active in community services, let's say, what services will you offer and to whom? Will it be small enough so you could operate out of a closet at the church? Or will you need to build a brand new center to house it? What will it cost to establish and operate? How will you raise the money? And a goal is not a goal until you put a time limit on it. When are you going to open your center? What has to be done leading up to that time? When will you finish each phase of the project? When will you announce that you are open? And if you don't set a time for your project, chances are it will never be done, and it will never benefit the public. And that's another thing. Just who is the public? Usually we think of the public as everybody. Just like when Jesus said, "Go ye into all the world," we think of the whole world. But people come to the Lord one at a time. The public is not the masses of all people. It's made up of different races, languages, and cultures, different age groups and occupations, many groups of people, many publics. That's the term that public relations professionals use, publics. Different publics have different ways of doing and thinking. Advertising agencies and marketing companies spend millions of dollars each year just to learn how people in particular groups think and act. What makes them different from other groups?
Who are your church's publics? Can you write a profile of the types of people who are going to be the easiest for you to reach with your message and influence in a positive way? Now, maybe your church has all the money in the world and thousands of volunteers to help you do the work. If that is your situation, then maybe you don't need to hear what I'm going to say next. But every organization I've ever known has limited resources, manpower, and time. So it makes sense to use a rifle instead of a shotgun, to aim for a target rather than scatter things to the wind.
And as you define your publics, remember that not all publics are outside the four walls of your church. Within your congregation are many publics in the public relations sense. Your youth are a public. The elderly and the singles are each publics, each with their own way of thinking and reacting. The parents of the children in your church school are a public, whether they are members of your church or not. Keeping the people who are already in your church is very important public relations. Just because they are members doesn't mean they don't need to have their awareness of the church increased and their attitude improved. After you've decided on your goals, who you want to talk to, and how best to present your goals to your publics, then you have to find the best way to reach your publics. The best way is to go where they are. It is much more difficult and expensive to try to get them to come to you on your ground. It is better to meet them on common ground. Take advantage of opportunities to make your church visible in the community. Encourage your church to participate in community projects like fairs, especially health fairs, and drives and parades. Events such as this provide natural opportunities for your church to give its special witness while benefiting from the exposure given to a community-wide project and the fact that someone else does the planning and bears most of the expense. Many conferences have booths which your church can rent for fairs.
You have to look at things from the point of view of the people to whom you want to speak. When I was ambassador to France during the Revolutionary War, I had to constantly be thinking of how best to say things so the French would be disposed to aid our cause. In the end, their aid helped us win the war and begin a new nation, thanks in no small part to a modest fellow named Franklin.
Not only should you speak the language of the people you are trying to reach, you should speak to them in a place where they are already listening. If you want to communicate through the written word, find out what newspapers and magazines your target audience reads. If you want to communicate by electronic media, ask the radio or TV station who its audience is. If a radio station has a big audience of teenagers, but you're trying to talk to 40-year-olds, it would be a mistake to use that radio station, no matter how strong or popular it is. TV stations generally have a different audience for each program or part of the day. It's not easy to define goals, define a target audience, and learn how to speak to them. But to try to build awareness without defining your goals and target publics will cause a lot of unnecessary work and wasted money and effort.
Well, I certainly wish John Brown success with his new blacksmith shop. He certainly seems to be getting off on the right foot. And I wish you success as well as you try to make your community more aware of your church. Awareness is extremely important. Nobody can join a church they've never heard of, nor can they visit a church they can't find. And they won't seek your church out if they don't know anything about it, or if they have a negative impression of it. Remember, in order to make the public aware, you first have to define who your publics are. Decide who is most likely to be favorable to what you have to say or what you are trying to do, and then find out the best way to reach those people. Put your money and energy where it will do the most good. And don't give up too easily. There's a lot of competition for people's attention, and the only way they will remember you is if you regularly get your name before them over and over again, over a long period of time. Well, I must beg your indulgence. The French ambassador is having a banquet tonight, and, well, I, as former ambassador to France, have been invited. And I'm looking forward to this opportunity to brush up on my French. Let me see. Bonjour, monsieur.